laure eni ori eni laure eni moji lowuro mofo mori ori eni laure eni bobo ire itasu Ifa ogba oloru àti bàtíájú Ifa ogba oloru ó ṣe àwúrẹ́là Ifa ti pọ́n. Ashe. All right, good morning again. Thank you for joining us for another Ifa temple service. So this is going to be part of a series that I'm hoping to bring people in to understand. The conversation is about what is Ifa and Orisa. And this conversation really is going to be based on how we can have a conversation with others about what we practice. Because I realize that's one of the big challenges that many people go through, is to be able to discuss what it is they do, right? It's easy for our Christian friends to say, oh, I believe in Jesus Christ and I follow the Bible. Our Jewish friends have their belief. The folks of Islam have their beliefs. But how do Ifa and Orisa people talk about their beliefs and what they practice and all that? So this conversation could go on for multiple weeks, but I thought I would start simple with just a few questions. And these questions are probably the standard way to start, or the standard way that people think about starting when they talk about any religious practice, right? And so the first question that typically comes up is, do you believe in God? That's a question that they ask. Do you believe in God? The second question they're going to ask, or people may ask, is do you have a Bible or sacred text, right? And then another question we have for today is, what is the expectation of you from God? So I hope to answer those questions. So let us begin with that. So the first question is, do you believe in God? Well, the most important thing I want us to understand is that we do have a creator that is the one that's in charge and organizes everything for us. And we refer to that creator as Olodumare. Olodumare. The name itself can be broken down into three parts. Ol, the owner of. Odu means the secrets, power, and authority. And Mare means that which is fixed, unmovable, eternal, unreachable, or unattainable, right? So if we put that together, those three parts, Olodumare, we get the as best as we can definition of who the creator is, the owner of the universe, the one that's in charge, right? I guess the one that we would say we report to. Let's look at the Odu of Okanran Owari. Can you guys repeat after me, please? He whose influence spreads around the world. He whose presence flows through every land. He who spreads his mat perpetually. Is referring to the clouds in the sky. These were Ifa's declaration to Olodumare Agotun. When sending Orishanla Oshemeragbo, also known as Obatala, to the world, to come in and establish the world for habitat. He was advised to offer Ebo. He complied. Orishanla is he who made the world habitable. All lands belong to Orisa. Okay, so this particular verse of Ifa gives us a lot of understanding just to begin, right? Olodumare is the one that's in charge of all of the Orisa. He was the one that sent Obatala first to come down to make the world habitable. So he's the one that's in charge, right? And the Orisa, and Irumole, as we refer to them, like Obatala, Shango, Eshu, Orumila, all of these deities were doing the work of Olodumare, right? So it's important for us to understand that Olodumare is in charge, and he has different Orisha or Irumole that are responsible for different aspects within creation, within how we live our lives, the things that we do, even waking up and brushing our teeth is explained through Odu Ifa. So all aspects of our life have some sense of Olodumare being a part of it. Olodumare resides in what is we refer to as Orun, or heaven. There is no hell within our practice, and that's important for all of us to understand. And I know that the next, I guess, sub question would be is, if there's no hell, how do we deal with the moral aspects, right? Because that's a lot of what happens in many other, I guess, the Abrahamic religions, where they, there's a worry about the devil, there's a worry about your soul afterwards. We have those similar types of conversations, but they're not based on eternal damnation. Our thoughts are is one, that Olodumare is always our silent judge. He's the one that is telling us that even though life may be interesting, we still have to be good in the things that we do, right? That's going to be something important for all of us to understand. There's a verse from Ogbeate. It goes like this. Can you repeat after me, please? If the lifetime of the wicked is enjoyable, his death and afterlife will be unpleasant. One cannot achieve success through wickedness and expect things to be smooth and peaceful. These Rifa's declarations to Otito, truth. The offspring of he who walks gently. Olodumare is the owner of judgment. Vengeance belongs to Olodumare. My king will pay each individual according to their deeds. So this particular verse of Ifa, Ashe, thank you. This particular verse of Ifa refers to, Olodumare's responsibility to us as individuals, holding us accountable as practitioners of Ifa and Orisa. Right? That's something important for all of us to understand. It is not our job as people of Ifa and Orisa to seek vengeance if somebody does us wrong. It's not our job as people of Ifa and Orisa to say, no, I'm going to, this person did me wrong, I'm going to do them wrong. It's not a part of what we should do, right? So it's important for us to understand that there's a moral compass set to us by Olodumare. In the verse of Ofumeji, it says that Olodumare is the one who's responsible for teaching us our character. Right? Character is important in everything that we do. Right? That's something that we all need to understand. Now, Ashe, the next question, do we have a Bible? Do we have a Bible? As I mentioned, as a part of Olodumare's name, Odu, which is the secrets, the power, and the authority, right? That's what that means. Odu is the sacred text, the esoteric word of Olodumare. It is how the Ifa and the Orisa teach us. It's through that sacred text. How is this sacred text? Where is it? Where is it? Where can I find it? Where can I buy it? Great question. So the sacred text itself is not something that can be written down because it is very, very, very large. We have 16 main Odus, 16 main chapters, and from those 16 chapters, there's a combination of an additional 240 signs, and so there are a total of 256 chapters. As my elders have explained, within each chapter, there's somewhere around 1,084 stories, verses, bits of information per chapter. And so we're imagining if this were all to have ever been written down, it would be a book so big that no one could carry it, right? It would just be a tremendous amount of information that could not be used or viewable or searched. It would just be so big. But that being said, the way that we learn this text and we learn these sacred words is through our elders. Right? There are some books that have been shared and published by very, very knowledgeable elders around the world, and that usually happens because of the certain bits of information that they have, that they keep and pass on to the students that they're working with. And so Odu is our secret or esoteric bit of information. Right? Many of us may think I'm only speaking about Odu Ifa, and that's not the case. Within Ifa, we have Orunmila and the big 256 chapters. Within Orisa, there's also Odu Erendilogun, right? These are all esoteric words of Olodumare, right? So it's important for all of us to have that information. We need to be with our elders or others around us who have that information that can teach us, because that's how we know how to live our lives. That's how we know to have guidance from the deities. Now, one more direct question that I've had over the years is, well, okay, so let us understand now, is Orunmila Ifa? Is Orunmila Ifa? And I'm going to share a particular verse with you, and I want you to please repeat after me for this verse. We're looking at the verse of Osa Alawo. Osa Olawo. That's Osa on the right and Otura on the left. Osa Alawo asked, "What is Otito?" I also asked, "What is Otito?" Truth is the Hierophant in heaven that protects the world. Orunmila declared that Otito is the unseen force that protects the world. Truth is the wisdom that Olodumare applies. Osa Alawo asked again, "What is Otito?" I also asked again, "What is Otito?" Orunmila declared that Otito is the character of Olodumare. Orunmila declared that Otito is the character of Olodumare. Otito is the unchanging word. Ifa is Otito. Otito is indestructible word. Is the indestructible words.
Otito is the indestructible word.
Otito is the power above all powers.
Otito is the power above all powers.
Everlasting blessings.
Everlasting blessings.
These were the declarations of Ifa.
These were the declarations of Ifa
to the inhabitants of the world.
to the inhabitants of the world.
They were advised to be truthful at all times.
They were advised to be truthful at all times.
Be truthful and be honest.
Be truthful and be honest.
He who is truthful, the deity will support.
He who is truthful, the deity will support.
Ashe. So, here in this particular Odu, Orunmila is identifying that the word of Olodumare is Ifa. The word of Olodumare is the truth that we have to live by as practitioners of Ifa and Orisa. Right? Again, whether we're identifying with the Odu of Ifa or the Odu of Erendilogun, whatever it may be, it's all the truth of Ifa. It's all the truth of Olodumare. It's the unchanging word that we have to live by within our lives. Right? And that is, if I can stress anything important enough, if we can understand that and grasp that concept, it will be a place for us to have a greater understanding of what Ifa and Orisa is and how we should look at focusing on learning the Odu, the sacred esoteric word of Ifa. So after speaking on that, now let's move to the next question. What does Olodumare expect for us as devotees? Right? Well, the first place I like to start when anybody asks me, well, what is Ifa and Orisa, and what is it about? What does it mean to you? And my thoughts are this. Ifa wants us to, all of the deities, or Olodumare wants us to live a life that is filled with happiness and success. That's what he wants for us. We want to come and live this world and live this life with the best sense of being fulfilled and completed. We come to live in this world to make it better than the way that we left it. Does that make sense? So let me tell you a story. We're going to go to the Odu of Iwori Meiji. Please repeat after me. He who we follow out is he who we ought to return home with. Who the dog accompanies out is who the dog ought to return home with. This was the Ifa cast for Eji Iwori.
This was the Ifa cast for Eji Iwori.
When coming from heaven to the earth.
When coming from heaven to the earth.
He was advised to offer Ebo.
He was advised to offer Ebo.
And also to always listen to Ifa.
And to also listen to Ifa.
Ashe. So, this is a particular story of, I would say, a priest, a deity, Eleji Iwori. It's one of the 16 major Odus of Ifa. When Eleji Iwori was coming from heaven to earth to establish itself, its goal was to find all Ifa and Orisa devotees that had four main characteristics in their life. They needed to be humble. They needed to be dedicated to their practice. They needed to be honest, right? And then they needed to also be patient in the way that they approached life. So he went to cast Ifa to make sure that everything would come out okay. And he was told that he would be successful in his search. But what he realized is that when he came to the world, he realized there were practitioners everywhere. Many different faiths, many different things, many different belief systems. And he was like, well, how do I even decide? How do I even know this? So he makes his trip. He came down. It's almost like he took a look, but it's like, oh, that's too much. Let me go back. So he goes back and he asks, he says, what do I do? There's so many people everywhere. How do I figure out who to bless with all Ire, with all the blessings of life? And so then the Awos explained to Eji Iwori that he needed to look for practitioners of Ifa, those who were dedicated to Ifa, those who were dedicated to living a life again of patience, of dedication, humility, and honesty. Those who had those four characteristics in their lives, that they would be blessed with all the Ire of life. So Eleji Iwori says, Ashe. So he does, he does offers his Ebo, and he comes back to the world, and that's his job, to find Ifa practitioners, those who are living the lives as best as they can to meet those characteristics. All right. So here in this particular story, Ifa is giving us a moral ground that's set up, and there's many different verses of Odu, many different signs that speak of the same exact thing. Right? We have to work to maintain patience in our life. We have to work to show humility. We have to work to be honest in our interactions. Right? These are all the different things that Olodumare is expecting of us as devotees of Ifa. When we have these types of interactions with others, that people can say these things about us, then we're working towards the goal. Now, it shouldn't be focused on what people say about us per se, but these are the things that we need to follow and know within ourselves we're working to follow. All right? So please repeat after me, so as we finish the verse for this story. He who we follow out is he who we ought to return home with. He who the dog accompanies out is he who the dog ought to return home with. This was the Ifa cast for Eji Iwori.
This was the Ifa cast for Eji Iwori.
When coming from heaven to earth.
When coming from heaven to earth.
He was advised to offer a bow.
He was advised
And also, always listen to Ifa.
And also always listen to Ifa.
That as much as he heeds Ifa's advice,
And as much as he heeds Ifa's advice,
so shall Ifa give him support.
so shall Ifa give him support.
He complied.
He complied.
Now, Ifa, please take an intense look at me.
Now Ifa, please take an intense look at me.
Take a benevolent look at me.
Take a benevolent look at me.
All hail Iwari Meiji.
All hail. All hail.
I am indeed your child.
I am indeed your child.
All hail Iwari Meiji.
All hail, Ifa.
Ashe. So again, we have these things that we are now focused on and thinking about for today's conversation. Again, this is a conversation that can happen for quite some time, but I wanted to start the process off by giving everyone information that hopefully will support them in their conversation with others. Here with our temple, within our temple chat groups and people that I've been meeting, a lot of folks are coming to Ifa, but simply do not know how to talk about what Ifa is, what it means, and how they can improve their lives. And so I'm hoping that this conversation is the beginning to a much bigger conversation. Right? Remember, I started this talk off today with the idea of thinking about three main questions. One, if someone asks, do you believe in God? You can give them the information based on what you know and understand about Olodumare. They ask if do you have a sacred Bible or sacred text? You can begin to have the conversation about the esoteric word of Olodumare, which is within the Odu, right? Last but not least, when they ask about, what are your moral expectations? What is expected of you as practitioners? You need to then, have the understanding of the expectations that were given to Eji Iwori, thinking about at least 4 characteristics, 4 tenets that you need to have a part of your life. Again, patience, dedication, humility, and truthfulness. Let those be the foundation of how you live your life and who you are and what is expected of you, right? And with that, we end our first conversation on part 1, what is Ifa and Orisa. Ashe. Please do not hesitate to ask questions, send messages to our Facebook, Instagram, whatever that may be. But I want to thank you for joining you today, and we appreciate you for supporting Okamran Sode Temple here in Miami, Florida. Aboru aboye, aboshishe oboato.